mama strength. Ain't nobody man enough to feel the pain. And you could be next, you better give respect.
Welcome, game trollers, to a new video. This video is my GM mode concept video for WWE 2K17. So, as we all know, I'm a big WWE fan, and they just announced that. Well, they just announced that the brand split is coming back. If you don't know what the brand split is, basically, back in the day, they used to have two shows. They had Raw and SmackDown. Both shows had their own storylines, their own roster, and their own championships. Like, people on Raw could not really go on SmackDown unless they were part of a storyline or just went there, like a draft or something like that, you know? And in the, well, I say later SVR games, like which one? SVR 2007, I think, maybe? They introduced GM mode. I think this was actually way before this, but let me actually just look this up. But yeah, GM mode was like a mode where you got to play as the general manager of a show, and basically your job was to get better ratings and everything than the other shows. Now, they replaced this with Universe Mode. Now, in the early years of Universe Mode, it was pretty bad. I mean, there was a lot of, like, missed features that should have been in it, but weren't in it, and it wasn't really that good at all. But then, over the years, it expanded and got better to the point where 2K16 is, like, really good. Like, the Universe Mode is actually pretty good, pretty fun. I still feel... Well, Universe Mode itself is really good, but 2K14's gameplay was better. So if only like 2K17 was on last gen, and we could have the 2K14 gameplay back, because the animations that they have, because they drafted it over to from next gen, is terrible. It's really glitchy. So yeah, but GM mode, I really want to see make a return, especially with the new next gen versions and everything like that. Now, I'm not sure if GM mode, if they do add GM mode, will they replace universe mode with it, or will they replace career mode with it, or will it just be like another thing? Because that would be a ton of content. But yeah, so pretty much the premise of GM mode was that, as I said, you have to get better ratings than the other shows, and you take control of one show. Before, it used to be Raw, SmackDown, and ECW, but since ECW is completely defunct now, and everything like that, and plus, afterwards, there was no brand split, so everybody could just do whatever they want. Pretty much, Raw was the main show, and then SmackDown was like the show where they show replays of Raw and just added, like, and had a few matches, and that sort of, you know, not really expanded, but, you know, continued on with a feud or something like that. And also was like the place where the Vaudevillains and Tyler Breeze debuted and stuff like that. I think the brand split officially went bombed when the championships were meshed together. But I think maybe by July 19th, maybe they'll like split up the championships again and have the WWE Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship. Um, it just makes sense. I mean, I'm not sure. But yeah, so of course GM mode can come back, and it'll basically just be like, you know, the GM mode back in the day, just with a couple tweaks, you know. So what I have in mind is you choose what show you want. You want Raw or you want SmackDown. Maybe NXT, I guess, maybe. But Raw and SmackDown, I think, are the main ones. But if they do end up adding NXT, I think that will be fine. And basically, you're trying to fight the other ones for ratings. Basically, trying to get higher ratings than the other one. the bad thing is about this is that before in GMO you used to have your own pay-per-view, so you get to have your own um, like say nowadays, if say Extreme Rules was a Raw pay-per-view, SmackDown had Payback, Raw had Money in the Bank, and so on and so forth. I think that will be sort of changed now, and have the pay-per-view split into two. So you have your matches on the pay-per-view, and then Raw or SmackDown, depending on which show you control, will have their own pay-per-view, and that's how I think that will work like that. So pay-per-views are gonna work like that, and basically on the pay-per-view is just try to get the most stars on a match, basically. So this is how it'll work. There'll be ratings. There'll be like match ratings, and then there'll be yeah. Basically, the ratings is how many people watch. You start out at I don't know, like if you start with you know what? Because like it'll be realistic if you start off with like I don't know 20 million on Raw and then like 10 million on SmackDown. And if you play as SmackDown, you have to go up and up and up. Or if you play as Raw, you're trying to fight off SmackDown's trying to take over. But it won't really be that fair, I guess. So I think you'll just start at a stagnant like 15 million viewers, and then depending on the match quality and the feuds, and depending on the people you use and everything like that, I'll talk about that in a second. The match, like the ratings, will go up or lower. Um, and of course, if the other one does the exact opposite, then they go up or down. Just yeah. Now there'll be many different. There'll be different things that count on the rating. So you have a superstar preference. Basically, superstar preference is say like nowadays the smarks and everything, they prefer certain wrestlers because they're just good at what they do. I'm a smart personally. I love Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. Uh, and a mark would just like the face and then Buddha heel. That's what a mark is. So I feel like they should implement that into GM mode to have like the smarky internet community like they have their own preferences. Uh, that's adding on their uh, I don't really call I like fan reaction, I guess. I don't know, like heel or face, and they'll have like a special preference that will just be for like the smarks, basically. So if it goes from 1 to 10, and basically if it's 10, then the smarks will love that person, and like I'm not sure how to do it. I mean, if the smarks will love that person, and then if it's say like that's Seth Rollins, he's a 10, and then Roman Reigns is like a 1. Like the Smarks hate that person. I'm not sure how to do it. Like if it'll be like mixed reactions, so like a boo and then cheers and stuff like that. I'm not sure how you'll really handle that. Maybe say just have like the preference be just for everyone, like Marks and Smarks, but have like I'm not sure. Because I really want that system in, because that's just how wrestling is nowadays. You have like the people who know about the wrestling, they care about the wrestling and everything like that, and then just the people who watch and just cheer for the faces, boo the heels. But there's these smart marks, the smarks, who boo the people they just don't like because they're not good or anything like that. So see, like I don't know. Maybe split it into two and have five for marks and then five for smarks. And if it's like five for both, well, not sure. Maybe just have like it be heel or face or something. I'm not sure. Just depending on that, you'll have I don't know. Because like the problem is with smarks, the problem is if they hate somebody, they'll just hate them forever. I'm not sure if like you would change them that superstar to a heel if they'll like begin to like him or not, or if it'll just stay stagnant or just hate him. and even the marks will hit him now and everything like that, or just have him lose all the time. So they start like ignoring them or what. I'm not sure how you will handle that, but I feel like that should be a thing. And based on that, you'll get different ratings. So if it's say like um, preference, the preference is say 0. Mm. You know what? The marks they don't need their own preference, right? They'll just boo the heels and cheer the faces depending on what you do. I'm not sure because like technically, how would they know? Like you could just change it on a dime and everything. Maybe at the beginning, like at the very beginning, you can set if it's a heel or face. And then over time, like depending on the rivalries, depending on what you do in terms of angles and stuff, then will the fan reaction change, depending on their actions and stuff. So if they attack another face and they're a face, then they'll start getting booed and become a heel. And then you have the superstar preference, which is like if people like him or not, and if you should like give him a push or just let him throw him on the side or whatever. Um, so yeah, I feel like that's a thing. And depending on if the superstar preference is like 10, then you'll get a lot of ratings. If storage space, screw me over again. So I was saying that if that superstar has a preference of 10, then if you put him on the card, you'll get a lot of ratings and a lot of positive feedback. Um, Another thing that they could take from career mode if they replace career mode with GM mode is having sort of the social media stuff. So instead of having preference, just have the amount of fans maybe, and that'll sort of fix everything. I'm not sure. Maybe depending on the amount of fans, maybe that will equate to the preference. But yeah, it's a really complex thing here that I've thought up. But yeah, and basically, if you have that person champion and everything, you will just get all the ratings and everything like that. The only problem is if you I was gonna say oversaturate. I'm not sure if that's the word. Overuse a superstar, even if they have high preference, the preference will go down to like 1. Um, just by having them just win every single match ever in existence. um, that'll be sort of a bad thing, because it will be sort of Roman Reigns syndrome. Like we wanted him to get a push, he got the push, and then they over pushed him, and then it's like nah, nah, this man, nah. So yeah, that's sort of the Roman Reigns syndrome. That's what they should call it. So another thing is, of course, I was gonna say, what was it? Wait a second, I'm back. God, anyway, something on Facebook. So, what was I talking about? So, match settings, basically. Depending on how good the match is, you'll get good ratings, and yeah, not just depending on the superstars, but also the matches themselves. Um, so of course, I'm not sure if you could say like have the match be like, okay, I win this match. Okay, I'm not sure if you can simulate it or and play it, or if you just have it be set in like a match, like say in like a real life booking. Basically, you make somebody win the match because I'm not sure if you have it like go any way, like just have it be depending on the match itself, or just have it be simulated and like actual book it yourself. So have this guy win this match, have this guy win that match, and yeah, and depending on what decisions you make, the fans will, react differently. I'm not sure if that will work. Uh, that's how it should work. I really don't know, but yeah, many things they could do with this, and there's again, the problem of NXT, like NXT isn't exactly the most watched. So, I mean, it's sort of watched, but not really. It's really weird. Like people love it. The people that do watch it love it, but it's not really watched that by that many people, if you know what I mean. So it's a really complicated thing, NXT. Also, I was about to say, ratings count as money. So pretty much, if I'm not sure if, like, say, every 500,000 counts as like a dollar or something. Maybe every million ratings count as $1 million, and that's how you get like contracts, sign contracts and things. So basically, you could buy somebody out, like buy somebody from SmackDown and put them on Raw, or buy somebody from NXT, and of course, depending on the preference, so like how popular they are, um, and like I'm not really sure. Like mainly popularity, but some other things too count as how expensive they are. So say like, you know, our truth would be, I don't know, $1,000, but like say Seth Rollins would be like, $100 million to get them on your show and everything. And you could do this on the fly, but you can't do it all the time. So you get like get to do one superstar each month, or you could just like trade. So like depending on the preference again. Like say you have two people who are 5 preference, you could trade somebody for 10 preference and give the other show the two fives. Now sort of count as the trading. I feel like superstar trading should just be a thing, maybe, or just have it happen like once a month, and you can only trade up to 3 superstars. I feel like that's how that should work. Because and then at the beginning of each wrestling year, so at every like payback or extreme rules, depending on how they organize the calendar. And pretty much once April or May comes around, the Raw after WrestleMania, basically. That's when you do the draft, and I'm not sure. I forgot how the draft really works and if it made sense in its inner workings. But yeah, have a draft, and hmm, I don't know, man. I don't know. May you just have the draft, and that's where everybody sort of changes. And like, yeah. Mm. So I feel like that's how that sort of thing will work. A lot of ideas, a lot of things that could go around for GM mode. Of course, feuds and angles, and I'm gonna talk about now. So pretty much feuds and angles is sort of really simple. You put 2 people or more into a feud, and they feud. Of course, you can have it choose what type of storyline it is. So, like, I don't know, um, uh, I don't know, like, say, if it's 2 faces, have like one of the faces turn heel, like have it be like, I don't know, a turn angle or something, so they can turn heel and everything like that, or something like that, or just have like if it's 2 faces, have it be like a test of respect or whatever. A test of respect, that makes sense. Um, and or like have it be what am I gonna say? A like legend return, or like a massive return. So say somebody got injured, because like fatigue is another thing. I'm gonna quickly talk about fatigue. Pretty much at the end of every match, depending on what match it is, people will lose fatigue. If they if they are not on a show like for a week or something, their fatigue goes up, and if they are in a match and then they get overused, their fatigue goes down. That's how that sort of thing will work. And I think maybe, I don't know, like depending on how long somebody's gone, their superstar preference will go up. And yeah, and pretty much if fatigue goes down all the way to like zero, that person will be injured and they won't be able to wrestle. And if their preference was high, I don't know. Like many things, many things. Like if their preference is high, then like once they make their return, the ratings will be like uber high or something like that. Many ideas. So like have like a return angle where somebody comes back from being injured and everything. And of course, there's different things like you could just have it be a feud, and then of course you could have in the feud you could have matches on certain shows and like I don't know, cutscenes or whatever, like just like promos and stuff, and attacks, backstage attacks and everything, and adding to the feud. And of course, the fans will like there'll be a preference for that feud. So like, the championship feud will be like high, and then the other one, depending on the superstars that are in it and the stuff that you do in it, depending. I don't know. It's a really complex thing, GM mode, as I said. Um, I'm just gonna cut this real quick before storage space goes out. Hold up. Alright, so another type of feud you could have is, say, like a superstar debut or superstar, like, I don't know, upgrade? What you would call it? What is it? What's the word again when somebody gets, like, a higher job or something? Like, they become, like, the manager or something? Completely forgot. But yeah, that sort of stuff. And they get, so you go from like NXT to, yeah. Anything. So also, if somebody is not being used, then their preference could go up and everything. It's just sort of like a random thing. So, like, say if Dolph Ziggler wasn't used or he was getting like buried terribly, then his preference will go up, and they'll want him to get a push. Like basically, everybody just gets a push, and then the people who they don't like, they get buried, and then maybe after a while they get pushed, and everything like that. So many like types of feuds you could do. Um, of course, championships. Not it just depends. It'll be stagnant the entire time. You can't like have a certain championship on the show, whatever. But I'm not sure if they'll have like cruiserweight and women's and everything be like separate, or if it'll be like shared between the shows. Because if it is shared between the shows, it'll be kind of difficult because you'll have to like share feuds and everything, and you can't really book the feud. Maybe depending on maybe it's not like a feud thing, but if they go on this show, then yeah, or maybe just have it be preset or anything. It's not set like by SmackDown or Raw. It's just like Vince just says, "Okay, I want New Day and Enzo and Big Cass to fight." And it's just the general managers have to deal with it. So yeah, that's sort of it for now. But it's basically just like GMO back used to be back in the day, but with some minor tweaks and everything. We'll see if they do end up adding GM mode at all. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you want in 2K17. If it's GM mode or just like Road to WrestleMania or whatever. Tell me what kind of features you think they could add in GM mode. All these kinds of things. Tell me down in the comment section. Troll on, baby.